Hello everyone, my name is Fof. Factory is really important because it has the power to make the business to achieve its financial and environmental goals. And also it helps the farmers and the producers out there to be able to get out of poverty and get more income, as well as this can be able to help save the environment as well. So, recording the benefits of factory, we have to know the history of factory, why does it come from, and its origin. So that's the reason why today I am going to talk about the history of factory. Now I'm going to give a basics overview of what I'm going to talk. First of all is I'm going to just talk directly into the history of factory. What is it? The important sites, the timeline, and also its the region why it started in the first place. Secondly, I'm going to talk about the role and the impact of factory on the market and on the producers and the farmer. And lastly is I'm going to talk about factory certifications. How can products get factory certificated and what this actually means? Moving to my first point is about factory history. Now I'm going to talk about some important timelines. First of all is about in the 1992, that it is where factory foundation gets started, and it's just like the organization's first place where factory got started, and then to 1994, then it is a place where the first factory products actually have, and that from that time onward, then it will just be selling in factories products, and now it has been like more than 25 years of factories, so it is a really long time from now. And also we have to remember that before the 1992s, there is also some chances of selling factory products, but not actually like factory, because now we're just taking factory as like coffee beans, etc., like the organic product. But like before the 1992, then the private stores is actually just selling like homemade products, such as their homemade cups, their crafting, and the envelopes, etc. Moving to my second point is about the origins of factory. Why they started? We know that nowadays factory and farming is one of the largest self-employed work, because nowadays, if you think about it, almost 40% of people in the world is actually farming. So now farming is really important, but most of people there still live under like $1.25 a day, which is obviously not good. And if we don't do anything about it, then poverty will affect how these people think, how they view the world, and it will also affect how they do, and thus it will just make the next generations be poorer and poorer, which is obviously not good. So the goals of factory is about to have these farmers to get better educations, to get better trade, better workforce, better price for their products, get more control, and also be able to get a better place for the environment as well. And that's the basics of the history of factory. Moving to my second point, which is about the role of factory. Now I'm going to talk about the market. How does factory serve the market, and how do they change the way the customer think about that? First of all, we have to know that factory is like just organic products, and it has overall focus on the people, the money, and the environment as well. And people nowadays really focus on having the poor farmers, the poor workers, and they also want to have safe environment. And that's the reason why factory is saving the world, because it has introductions, and it can be able to have the people realize that there are actually ways for them to have safe environment, because in the past some people might know that they need to do it, but they think, well, there's actually no way to do it, so they want to do it. But with factory products on, then they would be able to have do these things. And next up is I'm going to talk about like some examples of factory products, and it's conversions to conventional one. We now know that first of all we have to know what is conventional product. A conventional product in short is kind of like products but not grown organically because it is quite harmful for the environment and it can be used a great amount of pesticides, etc. So now I'm going to just compare with like factory coffee to like organic and conventional coffee. First of all is I'm going to compare that, the cost. We know that to be able to have safe environments and to have the farmers, then probably the factory products, the factory coffees, probably it will have to cost much like pricier than the conventional one, mostly because it also has its factory premium on it. The second is about its environmental impact. I'm going to talk about this because we now know that what suspect is also the factory coffee because now it can be able to help save the environment and it may use less pesticides and it can generate like less GMOs, etc. So it is better for environment. Thirdly is about its house in the workplace and the working places of these people who produce it. According to our research, now we know that actually factory is observing a better working place for the farmers, for the workers, mostly because now they will use the money to be able to help to make better compromise and also have better educated workforce for the farmers. While the same is obviously the strict for conventional ones because the farmer is obviously going to be exposed to the harmful chemical there, etc. So in conclusion, we now know that factory products, factory coffee is better than conventional one in almost except the cost sometimes. Thirdly, now I'm going to talk about its impact to the producers, its environmental and its financial. First of all, it's about the financial roles, and now it is very obvious that the farmers and the producers who actually got into factory gets better salary and have better control over the works, and so that's because they also get an extra money from the factory premiums, and we know now that factory has a lot of requirements on its list, so that means like every company who actually got factory is actually really good and they a really careful process throughout. And next up is about the second, is about its environmental roles. I'm not going to talk much about this because people actually got better trades, better education, so they are really care more for the environment. I'm not going to talk deep about that. And thirdly, it's about gender equity, the social roles. There isn't much evidence done to show that whether factories actually be able to get more gender equity than not, but I think that it is still like a big question mark and it still has to improve much because it's still a big problem and I don't think it can be though. And so next off, I'm going to talk about like some examples of like its roles and also it tells that if people get factory, right, then they actually are donating, so that will just make like the relationship with the producers and the people who buy it and like the third party, the supply chain will go much better. And moving to my last point, which is about factory certifications. So what is factory certification in this place? A factory certification is like a certification, like it works at its certification ISO. Its role is to tell the customer to know that, oh, this product is factory certificated. So that means I know that the company who's producing it is accepting the factory requirements. So I will believe that. And now there are actually 3 steps for the company to get certificated. First of all, is the company will have to apply. They will read through all the 13 requirements out of 11, and then they will think that, oh, my company wants to be fair trade, and so I will like do all of these requirements, and then I will ask them to like certificate me. The second process, the next step is about the audits. The companies, the fair trade certificators, mostly the flowchart will like tell that okay, so we know that the company is going to get fair trade certificated applications. So we would like to arrange a meeting. Can you please join? And then they will get to agreement, and then they will send orders there to get like information about the organizations like its workplace, and they will also ask like the employers, employees, and about like the people who's under control, like the workers, and then they will say and then the last step is about the analysis. The audits will say information, and then they will decide whether if the company is actually fairly certificated. So that are some of the process that fairly, so that some companies can get fairly. And now, what is the meaning of it? As I said before, it is just getting certificated, and there are many other organizations out there. First of all, most obvious is about the fair trade organizations on its own, and there are other companies as well, such as Fair Trade USA, like WFTA, etc., and there are many other organizations. So now I'm just going to discuss a few of them. First of all, it's about Fair Trade USA. Then from the name of it, you now know that it is an organization that is not for profit, and its main goal is to help the business in USA its own in order to help to get fair trade certificated, and it helps with fair trade, and its role is to help that business and the farmers. But federal organization is kind of different because its role is to have the farmers. It's focused more on the farmers and the children, so they will forward to think about, oh, so how can I help to save for the environment, and how can I make the future of these children be much better. So that is their roles. And thank you everybody for listening. Bye bye.